Millionaire's girlfriend sees black homeless boy. You won't believe this incredible, life-changing encounter. Samantha stared out at the San Francisco skyline from her sleek office on the top floor, the wind tousling her hair. Her heart sank despite the grandeur surrounding her. The bright lights and towering buildings felt like a solid wall separating her from deeper connections. Life looked perfect on the surface. An entrepreneur at 28, dating Mitch, a tech mogul. She was the envy of many. Yet, cloaked in her designer clothes, she felt a heavy weight of discontent pooling in her chest. That emotional nagging led her to the Mission District one crisp autumn afternoon. Volunteering at a local soup kitchen, she found a world starkly different from her own. The vibrant murals clashed harshly with the worn-down streets. Among clinking metal pots and the wafting aroma of soup, she met Jordan, a 10-year-old boy with an infectious smile and an unmistakable spark in his eyes. "Why do you come here?" he asked, curiosity punctuating his voice. "Because it's nice to help," Samantha replied, kneeling to meet his gaze. Jordan's laugh danced through the air, a melody of innocence that broke her heart. He shared stories about his mother, how she taught him to dream big, despite the rough patches. Each tale hit her like a punch in the gut. Here was a boy clinging to hope amid chaos, making more of nothing than she ever could from her abundant lives. Samantha felt the contrast of her privilege and his harsh reality ripple through her like static electricity. What did her high-stakes world matter when kids like Jordan were fighting for simple survival? Meanwhile, Mitch offered no sympathy, viewing charity as an unprofitable distraction. His world revolved around the glitzy heights of wealth and influence, sarcasm dripping from his lips when he spoke about donating. Before long, their holiday charity event drew near. As they planned together, Jordan opened up about his mom's health issues, deepening their friendship and twisting the knife in Samantha's conscience. Seeing his vulnerability shook her, igniting a fire inside that she hadn't felt in years. In an urge to make a difference, she rallied fellow volunteers and local businesses, her passion pulsing with each new plan formulated. Each, yes, she heard propelled her forward into the swirling void of hope. Mitch observed from the sidelines, his brow furrowed as his views clashed with her growing compassion. What if this world doesn't care about what we have, but who we are? He ultimately asked, a tone of discomfort tinging the air between them. Suddenly, all she wanted to achieve, the event, the plan, the dreams, connected back to Jordan, who deserved every ounce of happiness she could muster. Would he get the help he needed, or would they slip through the cracks like so many before him? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The evening approached with a weighty anticipation, thick as the fog rolling through the city. Samantha stood on a precipice. Her choices could catapult them all toward infinite potential or drive them further into their isolated worlds. Would Mitch understand, or would this bring an undeniable wedge between them? As she glanced back at Jordan, nerves gripped her gut. What future awaited them all? The answers lingered just out of reach, turning the keen desire for justice and compassion into an imminent emotional tempest. Samantha spent the evening going over every detail for the charity event. It was a whirlwind of lists and phone calls, with reminders buzzing in her ear like a persistent fly. Yet her heart wasn't fully in it. The joy she felt planning for Jordan and the other kids was mixed with a growing uncertainty and unease gnawed at her mind. She caught herself glancing at her phone every few minutes, hoping for a message from Mitch. But as night fell, it became clear that he was fully absorbed in a business gala, and the disparity in their worlds felt sharper than ever. "Are you going to turn off that phone, or what?" one of her fellow volunteers joked, trying to lighten the mood. Samantha managed a weak smile and put the phone down, but inside, a storm brewed. The soup kitchen buzzed with laughter and chatter around her, the warmth of companionship filling the air. Yet, when Samantha looked at Jordan enthusiastically chatting with another child over a plate of soup, she felt a pang. This small moment of joy felt monumental. Would it be enough to bring real change? Days passed like a blur, and soon it was the day of the event. The hall where they held it was decorated in vibrant colors, a mosaic representing the community they were trying to uplift. But as she walked through the space, a shadow crept over her optimism. She found herself wondering how her world shiny, polished, and focused on profit could relate to the grit and pain that defined Jordan's existence. "You look lost," a familiar voice interrupted her thoughts. It was Jordan, his eyes wide and curious. "I just wanted A to be perfect," she answered softly. "Perfect is overrated. You just gotta be you." His words hung in the air, simple yet profound, and she felt tears prick her eyes. It was a reminder that she was there for something bigger than all the glitz and glamour. As the crowd filled the hall, she marveled at the sea of strangers coming together, their energy palpable. Donations flowed in, and she felt a spark of hope ignite within her. Maybe today would indeed be the day something changed, a bridge built across the divide between their worlds. But then the doors swung open, and in strode Mitch, flanked by a couple of his business buddies. They oohed and awed at the decorations before glancing over to Samantha, a mix of confusion and amusement on their faces. "What is this?" Mitch asked, his tone betraying his disdain. "Charity? Really?" Samantha's heart sank. Everything she had poured into that day felt threatened by his casual dismissal of something that meant the world to her and Jordan. "It's about these kids, Mitch. It's about making a difference." "Difference doesn't pay the bills, Sam." Chilled by his words, she felt an icy wall rising between them, a reflection of everything she had been grappling with since she met Jordan. Suddenly, the room fell silent as Jordan approached, clutching a handmade card. "I made this for you, Miss Samantha," he exclaimed, his smile illuminating the room. She accepted the card, tears now streaming freely down her cheeks. In that moment, everything shifted. It was raw and real, and she could still feel Mitch's presence like a weight pressing down. Everything she had dreamed of and fought for was encapsulated in that small card, glittering with hope and promise. But would she find the strength to stand tall in her choices? Just as she felt a surge of determination, Mitch leaned over, whispering, "Are you really going to throw everything away for him?" Her pulse quickened. The room buzzed with anticipation. Everyone watched, unsure of how this showdown would unfold. In that moment, Samantha knew she had two choices. But which path would she take? Samantha could feel her heart pounding as she stared at the small card in her hands, the vibrant colors shimmering with Jordan's innocent joy. It was a simple piece of paper, yet it felt like a lifeline, a reminder of what truly mattered. The whispers around her faded as her focus narrowed on Mitch's skeptical gaze, heavy with judgment and the mounting tension. "Sam," Mitch said again, softer this time, almost pleading. "You don't really think this is going to change anything, do you?" The room seemed to hold its breath. People shuffled their feet and exchanged nervous glances. Samantha felt a swell of emotion rise inside her. "It's not just a card, Mitch. It's a promise of hope, of possibility. This matters." Her voice rose, breaking through the uncertainty that had clouded her heart. Mitch's expression hardened, as if he had drawn a line in the sand. "And what about us? You're throwing away a life filled with security, with comfort, for a moment? You think you can save these kids? Maybe not save them, but I can help." She shot back, her confidence growing. "You might not see it, but just being here, it changes something." Jordan stood nearby, watching the exchange with wide eyes. He clutched the other cards he had made, hopeful tokens representing the friendships he believed in. In that moment, he stepped forward. "Miss Samantha, it's okay. You don't have to choose." Samantha turned to him, her heart contracting. In his simple innocence, he saw a solution she hadn't imagined. "Hey, buddy, it's complicated." "It's not complicated," Jordan insisted, his small voice strong and unwavering. "You should be able to care about both." Mitch let out a huff, a mix of disbelief and annoyance. "So now we're taking life advice from a kid? This is absurd, Sam." Samantha could feel the heat rising in her cheeks. The laughter that had filled the hall moments before now felt suffocating, like a spotlight zeroing in on her. Wouldn't it be so easy to retreat? To take Mitch's hand and leave this place, solve her crisis with the stroke of a pen and a few signatures on contracts? But when she looked at Jordan, she remembered why she had fought so hard for this day. "No, Mitch," she said, her voice steady now. "This is about more than just us. It's about a community that needs support. It's about kids who just want to be seen. The murmurs of the crowd grew louder, sensing the shift. She saw heads nodding in agreement, eyes glistening with understanding. A woman near the back whispered to her friend, "She's right. It is about hope." Mitch stepped back, his pride visibly wounded. "You'll regret this, Samantha. This is just charity. It doesn't fix anything." "Maybe not," she replied, her spirit unwavering. "But it's a start." A newfound energy radiated from her, and the voices around her swelled with encouragement, everyone in the hall sensing the shift, the gravity of the moment. The door of possibility opened wide, yet all Samantha could think was the stubborn weight of Mitch's disapproval. But as Jordan's hopeful smile buoyed her spirit, she felt the door closing behind her old life. Just then, she looked to the audience, and in that instant, she realized Mitch's presence didn't define her. It wasn't just about standing up for Jordan, it was also about standing up for herself. Before she could dive deeper into her thoughts, a loud crash echoed from the back of the hall. Heads turned sharply as a commotion unfolded. A group of homeless kids had entered, drawn by the laughter and warmth, holding bright-eyed cardboard signs that read, "We're here too." The room fell silent once more, but now it was a silence tinged with intrigue and empathy. What would they say? Would this shift the dynamics further? In that electrifying moment, everything hung in the balance. Samantha's heart raced. Would these unexpected guests alter the outcome she had fought so hard for? As uncertainty gripped her, she felt an undeniable pull toward action. Would she bridge this divide, or allow her choice to slip through her fingers? Samantha's heartbeat echoed in her ears, drowning out everything else. She took a tentative step forward, both in response to the kids' arrival and to the rising tide of emotions inside her. The atmosphere in the hall was charged. The air felt electric with apprehension and curiosity. One of the newcomers, a tall girl with wild curls and a fierce look in her eyes, stepped away from the pack. Her sign, slightly crumpled but held high, read, "See us." There was a weight in her voice as she spoke, cutting through the stillness. "We just wanted to come and join. You can laugh with us too, right?" The audience shifted uneasily, caught off guard by this unexpected plea. Samantha felt a knot forming in her stomach. The girl's eyes sparkled with a mixture of bravado and vulnerability. She was holding her ground, demanding to be part of something bigger. Mitch stood off to the side, arms crossed tightly. Samantha could feel his stillness, his skepticism like a wall between them all. But she couldn't back down now. The weight of the moment pressed down on her. "Of course you're welcome," she called out, her voice unwavering. "This is for everyone." She could feel the warmth of Jordan's presence beside her, the hope he ignited lifting her spirits just enough to push back her fear. The girl's expression softened, and she lowered the sign a fraction. "Really?" she asked, her eyes searching Samantha's face as if looking for the truth behind her words. "Yes," Samantha replied, her heart bursting with a mix of excitement and anxiety. "You all deserve a place here. This is about sharing our stories." The other kids shifted closer, curious faces emerging from behind their cardboard signs. The energy in the room began to transform. A couple of adults in the audience started to clap, hesitant at first, then louder, more insistent. It was a simple act, but it felt monumental. "See," Jordan whispered to Samantha, barely able to contain his grin. "You did it. They want to be seen." She glanced at him, her heart swelling with pride. "They deserve to be heard, Jordan, just like you." Mitch's frown deepened, and he leaned forward, exasperated. "Sam, they want to understand. This is not what we planned. You can't let this derail everything." But it was as if the tide had turned, and his words felt like a distant rumble of thunder beneath the growing storm of energy around Samantha. She could see it in the eyes of the kids who had walked in an awakening, a charge of authenticity that resonated through the hall. "Maybe we stopped planning for what's real," Samantha responded, sharper now. "Maybe the plan needs to change." With a gesture, she waved toward the kids. "Let us hear your stories. Come and tell us." One hesitated, then another. They whispered among themselves, exchanging glances filled with uncertainty. Samantha's heart raced. Would they step forward, share their truths? As they approached, sharing shy smiles and nervous laughter, the distance began to dissolve. The crowd leaned in, sensing a connection that transcended comfort zones. Just as a boy, barely older than Jordan, began to tell them about his dreams. Mitch abruptly turned and stormed towards the exit. "This is ridiculous," he muttered, the door slamming behind him. Samantha felt a sharp pang in her chest, but forced herself to focus on the warmth rising in the room. It was palpable, a shared vulnerability that gripped everyone present. "Go on," she encouraged the boy, her voice steady. "We're listening." He swallowed hard and began, his words spilling out like a long-held breath, the raw hope of a child clashing with the harshness of life, reverberating around the hall. Samantha closed her eyes momentarily, absorbing it all. This was the moment she had been waiting for. Watching as walls fell and hearts opened, she envisioned a world where love and understanding reigned. But then, just as the boy's story reached a poignant peak, there was a sudden noise outside. The buzz of a commotion, voices raised in urgency. Curiosity tangled with dread as everyone turned to the door. What was happening now? Samantha's thoughts raced. Would the night bring more light, or was another storm brewing? She felt the ground shift beneath her once more, as uncertainty clung closely, reminding her that this was only the beginning. Samantha's heart raced as she turned toward the door, the anticipation in the air heavy with unspoken fears. The commotion outside steadily grew louder, the sounds of hurried footsteps and urgent voices breaking through the fragile moment of connection they had all just forged. "Are they okay?" A voice piped up from the crowd, worry washing over the faces closest to the exit. The boy, just moments before pouring out his dreams, faltered, glancing back at the crowd as if searching for reassurance. Ironically, it was Samantha who now needed comfort. "Let us stay here," she said, panic tinged with hope. "Let us focus on the stories. We can do this together." But the wave of tension swept through the audience as more voices raised outside, now mixed with a sense of urgency that felt almost threatening. The tall girl from earlier, still holding her crumpled sign, shuffled her feet and called out, "What is happening out there? Shouldn't we check?" Jordan, standing close behind Samantha, looked worried too. "Sam, maybe we should go see." Just as he spoke, the door swung open again, this time with a force that sent a few startled gasps through the hall. An older man rushed in, eyes wide, his breath coming in quick bursts. He looked disheveled, with sweat glistening on his forehead, and Samantha felt a chill run down her spine. "Please, we need help," he said, barely managing to catch his breath. "There's a group of kids outside." There he hesitated, flicking a glance back toward the chaos outside. His gaze fell on the kids in the hall, then back at Samantha, pleading. "They're trapped. The police are. It's scary." Her heart sank at the implication, panic swirling in her chest. Would the story take a dark turn? Only moments ago, they were diving deep into dreams, and now this? Samantha exchanged quick glances with Jordan and the others, and each face reflected the same whirlwind of emotions. Fear, confusion, bravery. "Get everyone to safety," one of the adults in the audience shouted, urgency crackling through the air. "We should move now," Samantha interrupted, raising her hand in protest. She couldn't let fear control them. "We need to stick together. We can't leave them out there." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd as some kids stepped closer to Samantha, emboldened by her words. "But what if something happens?" Mitch's voice broke into the moment, thick with anxiety. His face, now returned to the hall, looked drawn and uncertain. "You're risking everyone's safety. Or maybe we're about to show what courage looks like." Samantha shot back, her cheeks flushed with resolve. In that instant, she felt a wave of warmth from the crowd, a connection that grounded her when everything felt uncertain. "We've already started sharing our truths together. We can stretch our hearts even further," she insisted, meeting Mitch's gaze once more. "What's a story worth if it doesn't encompass reality, the good and the bad?" Taking a deep breath, she gathered the collective bravery, looking deep into the eyes of the kids who had come forward. "Let us show them we care. Let us do this." In that moment, as the crowd began to move toward the exit, it was as if the weight of their decisions pressed down like a heavy blanket. Would they face the chaos together? Samantha hesitated at the door, heart beating fiercely against her ribs. Wait. She turned back, contemplating what lay ahead. They were about to step into something bigger than any of them had imagined. But would they band together as one force, or would fear cause them to scatter? As they stepped out into the night, A powerful gust of wind ruffled the air, carrying the weight of possibility and danger. In that moment, Samantha couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Would they find strength in unity? Or would darkness overshadow their hopes? Samantha stepped into the chilly night, a rush of wind pushing against her. Her heart thundered as she glanced at the group of kids behind her, faces lit with fear, yet also a flicker of determination. They were stepping into the unknown together, bound by a shared sense of purpose and perhaps instinct. The scene outside was chaotic. A crowd had gathered, their shadows mingling with the flashing lights of police cars. People were shouting, some crying, and the air was thick with tension. In the distance, Samantha could see silhouettes clustered near the corner of the street, the trapped kids. "We need to find out what's happening," she called back to the others, urgency lacing her voice. Jordan was by her side immediately, his brows knitted in worry. "What if it's dangerous? We have to try?" Samantha's voice broke slightly with emotion. "They need us." The crowd around them seemed to shift and murmur like a living entity, grappling with its own fears. Eyes darted from Samantha to the door, back to the chaotic scene outside. She could feel the collective heartbeat of the crowd as they waited for someone to take charge. "I can't believe Sam wants to go out there," Mitch whispered to a girl beside him, his doubt evident. "What if it's worse than we think? Or what if it's not?" She replied, watching Samantha with a mix of admiration and concern. "We can't just stand around. They need us." Samantha took a deep breath, pushing her fear aside. This was the moment, one that demanded courage from all of them. "Let us split up," she proposed, surprising herself with the suggestion. "Some of us can go find the kids, while others can stay here and keep an eye on things." A hesitant but resolute nodding ran through the group. One by one, each kid began stepping forward. "I'll go," the tall girl with the crumpled sign declared, her face set with fierce determination. "Me too," another voice piped up, followed by several others. Samantha felt a swell of gratitude. They were ready to risk it. Together, they were stronger. "Okay, let us stick together," she shouted to keep spirits up. "No one goes alone." They formed a line, moving cautiously toward the gathered crowd. The sounds of fear and confusion mingled with the crackle of police radios and distant sirens. Every step felt heavy, the adrenaline coursing through them enough to drown out their anxiety. As they got closer, they could make out a group of younger kids huddled against a wall, shivering in the night. Their terrified faces turned toward the loud voices, and when they spotted Samantha and her friends, their eyes widened with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. "Hey, it's okay," Jordan said, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "We're here to help." A small girl with tangled hair looked back at the person next to her, eyes wide. "Are you not scared?" she asked, her small voice trembling. "No." Samantha felt the warmth in her chest ignite as she knelt down to their level. "You're safe now. We're all in this together, okay?" The little girl nodded slowly, her trust in Samantha growing as the rest of the group edged closer. Just then, a shout rang out from the crowd behind them. "Get back! Move away!" A police officer pushed through the throng, his voice booming and frantic. Something was wrong, very wrong. In a heartbeat, the atmosphere shifted. Fear spread through the crowd like wildfire. Was there another threat? Samantha's heart raced as the weight of the moment fell down on her. Would they be able to help the kids? Or would they find themselves caught in a situation far worse than they ever imagined? As darkness loomed heavy and uncertainty thickened the air, Samantha drew in a shaky breath, reminded of their shared mission. The moment felt pivotal. What was meant to be a night of dreams and stories now charged with consequences that could change everything. The question now hung above them. How far was she willing to go to protect not just her own, but those in need? The crowd seemed to swell, pressing in on all sides. Shouting grew more frantic, and Samantha felt the heat of the moment intensify around her. It was as if the sheer weight of emotions, fear, concern, anger had coalesced into a tangible force, pushing against her like a wall. "Stay close," she called out, instinctively grabbing Jordan's arm. "We can't lose each other in this mess." The younger kids were trembling, their wide eyes reflecting confusion and fear. Samantha locked eyes with the little girl she had just reassured. "What is your name?" she asked softly, hoping to anchor her in the chaos. "Emma," the girl squeaked, her voice almost lost amidst the cacophony. "Okay, Emma. You're really brave. We're going to get you and the others out of here safely, Samantha promised, even as her heart threatened to betray her with doubt. Another shout cut through the air, this one more urgent. Get back. Emergency. Everybody back. The police officer was gesturing wildly, and the crowd obeyed instinctively, retreating like a tide. What's happening? Jordan murmured, panic creeping into his voice. I don't know, she replied, trying to keep her own fear at bay. But we can't leave the kids here. As if on cue, a flicker of light sprang to life across the street. The headlights from a squad car pierced the night, illuminating waves of nervous faces. Samantha spotted officers moving through the crowd, their walkie-talkies crackling with commands. A knotted sense of purpose surged within her. Let us get the kids out of here, she urged, taking a step forward. We can find a safer spot. With Jordan beside her, her confidence grew. They began to usher Emma and the other kids gently through the crowd, where anxious adults loomed like guard towers, ready to react at a moment's notice. Stay together. We're almost there, Samantha shouted, her voice cutting through the tension. With every step, she felt the burden of responsibility weighing on her shoulders. But somewhere deep inside, a spark ignited a fierce determination to protect those who looked to her for guidance. Suddenly, a young boy, no older than 8, stumbled and fell to the ground. No, don't leave me, he cried, clutching a frayed blanket. Samantha's heart stopped. She turned to see the boy's terrified face, tears mingling with rain that had begun to fall. I've got you, she said, kneeling beside him and taking his hand. What is your name? Tyler. He sniffled, looking up at her, eyes wide and desperate. Okay, Tyler, she said, giving him a reassuring smile. You're safe with us. Just hold my hand, all right? As they continued moving, the scene around them blurred. The chaos of the crowd faded into a distant hum. Only the children remained in sharp focus. They were here together, bonded by fear and resolve. The flickering lights of the police cars cast shifting shadows on their faces, but they pressed on a determined group facing the unknown. Just as they reached the edge of the thrumming crowd, a scream pierced the night. Over here. We need help. A woman in the distance clutched her phone, looking frantic, searching for someone. Samantha's heart dropped. We can't just leave them. But the crowd was shifting again, and an old man in a jacket stumbled past them, eyes wide with panic. Get out. They're coming. In that moment, there was no time left for hesitation. Should she press on and risk it all, or turn back to help more in need? Every fiber in her being screamed for action. Samantha's voice was lost in the rising chaos. But in her heart, she knew whatever came next, the night was far from over. What was lurking beyond the crowd, and how would they face it together? Samantha took a deep breath, the weight of uncertainty hanging thick in the air. The scream echoed in her ears, threading through her mind like a frantic pulse. She looked down at Emma and Tyler, their small hands wrapped tightly around hers, and felt a surge of adrenaline. This was a moment that would define all of them. Hold on tight, okay? Samantha said, her voice steady despite the storm of chaos around her. She pulled the kids closer, making sure they felt her presence, her strength. We're going to help. That's what we do. As she turned back toward the source of the woman's cries, she felt Jordan's hand grip her shoulder. Are you sure? He asked, his voice laced with doubt. Yes, she affirmed, determination sharpening her resolve. We can't just leave. Pushing through the swirling mass of bodies, she guided the children forward, every step made heavier by anxiety. The night was growing darker, the flickering lights of the police cars illuminating more than just faces. They revealed the fear of a community teetering on the edge. In that moment, they were all connected by the shared understanding that danger could strike anyone, anywhere. The woman was now visible, her hands waving wildly as if trying to summon a lifeline. Please, we need help over here. Her voice cracked, desperation weaving into her words as they approached. Samantha could see a faint outline of what troubled the woman, a sprawled figure on the ground, a man who looked beaten and broken, tangled in shadows and illuminated only by the police lights. Her stomach twisted at the sight, brimming with urgency and compassion. We can't just stand here, Jordan said, his voice barely above a whisper, his eyes wide. No, we can't, Samantha replied, feeling the pressure surging through her veins. It was as if the crowd pulsed beneath her feet, a reminder of how quickly things could go wrong. Help is on the way. A police officer called out, trying to maintain control of the situation, but the urgency in the woman's voice made it impossible to wait. Let me through, Samantha called out, fighting the flow of bodies pressing further away from danger. Emma and Tyler hung on, their small hands steadying her as she navigated the triumphant tide of panic. Once at the elbow of their rage, Samantha knelt beside the man on the ground, taking in his disheveled appearance. His clothes were torn and dirty, even worse than her first thought. She placed a hand on his shoulder, feeling warmth beneath fingers, a flicker of life. "Hey, can you hear me?" she asked softly. His eyes fluttered open, revealing depths of weariness intensified by pain. "Help," he groaned, and in that moment, Samantha realized he was just another victim of a cruel world. "I'm here. Just hang on," she said. Fear gripped her heart, but she wouldn't let it drown out the compassion pushing her forward. Jordan knelt beside her, looking helpless as he took in the frantic chaos around them. "We need to get someone to look at him." "What if no? We can't leave," Samantha interrupted. "He needs us. You need to call for help." She turned back to the woman, who had come forward with urgency. "I'll call 911. The woman shouted, already dialing her phone with trembling hands. Encouraged by her resolve, Samantha felt the shift in her own fear. This wasn't just a moment of panic. It was a call to action, a whirlpool of humanity yearning for a small glimmer of hope. As sirens blared in the distance, Samantha took a deep breath, scanning the crowd that still loomed like a storm. "Everyone, we need room. Make way." Her voice, once timid, was now a battle cry. But as people moved aside, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone. Something echoed behind the veil of chaos, a collective fear growing, manifesting beyond their immediate troubles. What other shadows lurked unseen, creeping closer, waiting to reveal their true intentions? The air charged with an unsettling tension, heavy enough to suffocate. As the streetlight flickered above them, the heavy shadows cast by the police vehicles danced across the pavement, creating an eerie stage where fear and hope could battle it out. Samantha crouched close to the man, her heart racing. Every second counted. She could hear the faint rumble of sirens getting closer, but it felt like an eternity. This man had a name, a life, and he deserved to be cared for. She glanced at Emma, whose little face was scrunched up in worry, and Tyler, who bit his lip in confusion, unsure of what was happening. "Stay close," she whispered to them, trying to maintain a calm demeanor while her insides churned. The woman beside her seemed to have steadied herself, her phone pressed to her ear, but her eyes swept the street frantically, searching desperately for help. "Please hurry. He is hurt badly." Jordan looked at Samantha, his expression a mix of admiration and fear. "What do we do? What if He trailed off, unable to voice the worst. "We don't think about that," she replied, the firmness in her voice shaking just a little. "We focus on him. That's all that matters right now." A surge of shouts erupted from the crowd, heads turning as a group of teenagers erupted into animated gestures at a distance. The chaos had shifted loud laughter, and the pounding of feet drew closer. The shadows seemed restless, like wild beasts prowling for an opportunity. "What is happening over there?" Tyler asked, squeezing her hand tighter. Samantha strained to see, a knot forming in her stomach. "Just some kids playing. It's okay." But the unease lingered, gnawing at her. Suddenly, a scream pierced the night, louder this time. "Get back!" It echoed against the bricks, haunting and powerful. The laughter disappeared like smoke in the wind. The crowd began to part again, and the officer who had shouted rushed forward, needlessly imposing authority in a moment that lost its grip on calm. Everyone moved back. Now, Samantha lifted her head, alarmed. Something was wrong. She glanced at the children, and their eyes were wide with fear, responding to the change in the mood around them. "Stay put, okay? Just hold on to me." But as she looked back, the man on the ground was struggling, his breath coming in jagged gasps. "Please don't leave me," he rasped, every word heavy with unspoken pain. "She'll, you're not alone," she promised, tears pricking the corners of her eyes. This was her chance. Hadn't she taught her children about empathy, about being there for others? This was her moment to exemplify that very lesson. In the distance, shadows loomed, figures began to break into view, moving deliberately through the crowd. Not the police. Something darker, more intimidating. Tension hung thick in the air, an untrustworthy hush descending over the community. Samantha felt a shiver crawl down her spine as she caught sight of their faces, features set and determined. What was their intention? Why were they gathering here? An awareness of the vulnerability of this moment suddenly consumed her. The sirens in the background grew louder, yet somehow, the menace that approached felt even closer. "Jordan," she said, voice steadier now, "we need to protect Emma and Tyler. Get them out of here." That same urgency transformed into a shudder of resolve within her. "I can't leave him. Not now. I want to abandon him." But her words triggered a subtle tremor of fear in the air. Before she could react, the figures were upon them, acting with an unmistakable purpose. What would they demand? What could they want? The shadows twisted around them, darker than the night itself, and Samantha realized life could change in an instant. A feeling gripped her heart. This was just the beginning. What were they willing to sacrifice? Samantha's heart raced as the shadows edged closer, their intentions clear in their determined eyes. Fear rippled through the gathered crowd. She could see parents pulling their children close, unsure of what was about to erupt. The tension coiled tighter, a spring ready to snap. "Stay back," the lead figure shouted, his voice rough as gravel. The crowd faltered, uncertainty casting a pall over the night. But Samantha felt something stir within her, a defiance igniting. "No," she shouted. The words burst forth, fierce and unwavering. "We won't let fear stop us. We're here to help. This man needs us." She looked at Jordan, who stood rooted, fear flashing across his face. "Jordan, take Emma and Tyler. Get them to safety. We can't leave you." Jordan's voice cracked with emotion. It was then Samantha saw the determination flaring in the eyes of the kids around her, the ones who had joined her in this journey. "You are all stronger than you know," she said, injecting her voice with that undeniable spark. "Let us show them the power of caring. Together." The onlookers murmured in confusion, yet amidst the anxiety, something shifted. The kids began to step forward, the wild curls of the tall girl waving defiantly. "We can help too. We want to stand with you." The tension hung thick, but Samantha felt the shift. It was as if their combined heartbeats synchronized, an anthem of resilience against fear. "Let us do this," she urged, injecting her voice with hope. "If we work together, we can bring light to this darkness." Before she could finish speaking, the lead figure took a step closer, his brow furrowing as he processed their unified determination. "What are you trying to do?" he asked, trying to find annoyance in the face of bravery. "Show you we care." Samantha shot back, defiance lacing her voice. "Help us help him." Slowly, doubt crept into the men's hardened expressions, surprise threading through their resolve. The room, cold with uncertainty moments ago, was now shimmering with warmth and compassion, the kind that ripples through communities, igniting hope against the odds. The lead figure glanced over his shoulder at the group he had brought with him. They exchanged uncertain looks, some hesitating under the sparkle of Samantha's conviction. "You're serious about this?" he asked, disbelief weaving through his tone. "Absolutely," she replied, grounding her voice in strength. "We believe that every life matters, every voice deserves to be heard. Help and healing are unstoppable when hearts unite." The man stood still, absorbing the weight of her words as if someone had flipped a switch. A flicker of doubt plagued his hardened exterior as the ambience shifted, echoing with the hope pulsating through Samantha and the children beside her. Time seemed to stretch as silence enveloped them once more. And then, the lead figure dropped his guard. "Fine," he said, his voice softer now. "We'll help." Samantha felt the air release, tension bubbling into relief. "Thank you," she whispered, emotion gripping her throat. "Let us bring help to him." One of the figures moved forward to assist with the man on the ground. The crowd began to shift as the shadows retreated in the face of light. Sirens broke the stillness, the electric enthusiasm building, courage now triumphing over fear. Jordan squeezed her hand, his relief palpable. "We did it, Sam." Heads nodded from the audience, an unplanned choreography of humanity rallying together. Slowly, but surely, they began to step back and allow paths of light to rise, reaching for the darkness that threatened to swallow them whole. As paramedics arrived on the scene, all eyes turned back to Samantha, who stood tall amidst the chaos, pride swelling in her chest. Their encounter wasn't just a fleeting moment, it was a lifetime of shared resilience building and a realization that together, they could weather any storm. And in that moment, Samantha knew her world had changed. The shimmering skyline of San Francisco now felt like a canvas colored with both purpose and connection. Jordan stood proudly beside her, and their bond deepened, carving a way for hope through shattered expectations. Mitch might not get it, she thought, memories of their faces flashing through her mind, and instead of sadness, she felt an ember of gratitude. A spark ignited her heart, reminding her that she had made the right choice, pushing past fear and doubt to embrace the beauty of compassion. As the police restored calm and the community pulled together to respond to the chaotic night, Samantha promised herself one thing. She wouldn't curl back into her cocoon of comfort. She would strive for a world where every child, like Jordan and those she had met, could dream without barriers. Together, they had stood in the face of fear, transforming chaos into connection, a lesson they would carry with them forever. "Let us keep the light shining," she said to the kids, their laughter mingling with the excitement of the moment, cocooned now in strength and hope. The night had passed, but their journey was just beginning, and this transformation was only the first of many. This was their promise. Now, let us continue this journey together. You need to subscribe now to join us as we explore powerful stories like this. This is the moment to show your support for our mission to uplift every voice. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these incredible tales coming. I want to hear your reactions and feelings. Comment below to share your thoughts about this inspiring ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this amazing transformation. Together, we can change the world.